Okay, hi everybody. Chanukah Sameach. Happy Chanukah. This is a fantastic Chanukah, this particular Chanukah. Okay, now this is a video to teach you how to light an oil Chanukiah. Technically, this is called a Chanukiah, not a menorah, but in the United States, many Jews refer to it as a menorah. But it's technically called a Chanukiah. The only menorah, there's only one menorah. There always has been only one menorah, and that's the menorah that was built in the desert when the Israelites were building the first synagogue called the Tabernacle. And as per the specific, extremely detailed, specific instructions in the Torah about how to build the menorah and the tabernacle, the first synagogue, which was a mobile synagogue, right? They took it with them all over the desert for 40 years. So the instructions to build the menorah were in the Torah, and that menorah lasted, well, until today. It's believed to still exist, of course, but it was used day to day in the first temple for about 400 to 500 years. It was made of pure gold, and it is made of pure gold. And the miracle of that menorah is that it stood up for 400 or 500 years, being made of 100% pure gold. Because, as you probably know, things that are made of pure gold, they don't have a lot of structure. And so the menorah should have fairly quickly bent over under its own weight, but it didn't, and it hasn't. So these are called Chanukiah, Chanukiyot, plural. Okay, but in the United States, we use the term menorah also interchangeably, but technically it's Chanukiah. Now take out your menorah. It might not look exactly like this, but something similar. The packaging might be something similar. The point is, when you open this, be very, very careful with the glass cups. I've broken many glass cups in these Chanukiyot. They're usually pretty fragile, and of course they're just designed to hold some oil and a wick, not to be handled too much. And if you have to wash them after a couple of days, so I recommend wash them one at a time. Don't try to hold a few of them and wash them. You will probably inevitably drop them in the sink like me, break them, and then what are you going to do on the 7th and 8th night? You do have one extra because, as I'll point out later, you don't need the Shamash to be filled with oil. You can use a wax Shamash. It's actually better. But besides the one extra, otherwise you're going to be a little bit difficult on the last night, but there are still solutions. Okay, so open up the menorah out of the packaging. Now I'm wearing gloves and I put aluminum foil down. I recommend you put something like aluminum foil or paper or a newspaper underneath. And maybe you want to wear gloves because it can get a little bit messy with the oil. Also, I'm going to be extinguishing the wicks, something you won't be doing, but I'll be extinguishing them so it's easier to do with gloves for the purposes of demonstrating to you how to light and bless and all that. Okay. So put something down underneath the Chanukiah, put the Chanukiah on top, and let's go. In this particular Chanukiah, as you'll see, there's an extra little piece included for the Shamash. And so we're going to take this cup all the way on the right, take it out, and insert the support here for the Shamash. The requirement is that the Shamash is either above or below the other candles. Above is preferred, like you see this one here. Now you received with your Chanukiah, you either received some of these metal tubes with wicks, or you received the floating cotton wicks. The floating wicks came in a box like this, probably. We'll go ahead and do the example with the metal tubes first, and then the floating wicks after. So you want to open the package first. And then we're going to take out one of these little aluminum rods. And what these really are, these are the wick holders. And they have a little circle on the bottom, little metal disc base. And we're just going to drop them into one of the glass cups there. So we're just going to demonstrate one tonight. And then these wicks we'll take out. They're coated with wax. And you just slide one of these wicks into the wick holder. And that's it. Everything's set up. And you just do as many nights as you have. So tonight we'll just need to do one. And one for the Shamash. Now for oil, you can use any type of olive oil that you want. You must use olive oil. This is olive oil like used to cook with and put into salads. And this is olive oil that's special just for lighting. You can find this in any Judaica store, maybe even in your supermarket. You should not eat it, but it can be used for lighting. The advantage is that it's like really much less expensive than the olive oil that you buy for cooking and eating. This is in Israel like 25% of the cost of the olive oil that you might buy for cooking and eating. So it's recommended to save money, but you can use any olive oil that's in your cabinet. And for tonight, the first night, you don't need that much anyway. So if you don't have the lighting oil and you don't care anyway, so just use olive oil. Do not use safflower oil. Don't use canola oil. Those oils will smoke or they won't light as well. You have to use olive oil. And of course, olive oil is what they used in the holy temples. So we want to try to emulate them. And anyways, the other oils don't light and don't burn so well. Olive oil is perfect. Any kind of olive oil, regular olive oil, or lighting olive oil. So now we'll fill up the cups with the oil. You want to fill it. It's best to fill it all the way to the top. Even you get a little bit bubble at the very top. That's perfect. So that'll maximize how long it will burn. And like I said, they're very beautiful when they burn, especially as you get more and more lights every night. It's very, very beautiful, as you'll see in a few minutes. So tonight we'll fill up one just to show you how to light it. And later we'll arrange it correctly so you understand which order to light in. So now we're just showing how to light one cup with a wick. Okay, 1 cup of oil. So you just light the match or lighter and light the wick. That's it. There's no chance that the oil will catch on fire. There's no chance that you cannot catch oil on fire. Watch, even if I put the match directly into the oil, it just puts the flame out. So there's nothing dangerous about this. And that's how you do that one. You can see how beautiful that looks, how it lights up the whole glass cup. Now you don't need to fill the glass cups with oil. Now we'll light one of these floating wicks. You can see one side has aluminum foil, the other side may or may not, depending on your brand. Mine does not. So the point is you always want to put the aluminum foil up. And for the wick, you want to make sure that 2/3 of the wick is below the disc and 1/3 of the wick is above, approximately. That's how they work best. That's how they burn best. 1/3 above, 2/3 below. Okay? And then you just go ahead and drop that into a cup of full oil. So let's fill up a cup of oil here. Again, this is just for demonstration. You don't have to fill it all the way. You can fill it even halfway. The requirement is that they burn for at least 30 minutes. And halfway full is plenty of time. So now we drop this floating wick right on top. You just drop it right on top of the oil with the 1/3 sticking up of the wick and the 2/3 down into the oil. 2/3 of the wick down into the oil. And then we'll just light that, just like we did the other one. And that's it. That's how you light these Chanukiot. Okay, so now let's get into how to set up the first night and subsequent nights and to say the blessings correctly. Now, the one on the right, the one with the metal tube, just to let you know, because it's a long, really thin tube and it has wick inside, you might notice in the first couple of minutes, you might see it move around a little bit. That's normal. It's just kind of adjusting itself as it takes up the oil into the wick, okay? If you see that little metal thing move a little bit, it's totally normal. Okay, now let's get into the blessings. And by the way, these wicks should be made from cotton. They have a wax covering, okay? And these are even better, but they still have a wax covering. But underneath is cotton. And cotton wicks are great because this is also what they used in the temple. They used oil and they used wicks that were cotton. Now, we're going to set this up so as if we're lighting the first candles. And you see how easy it is to put them out if you really have to. I have a little oil on my fingers, that, okay? Very, very safe. So, now, let's light the Chanukiah with the blessings to show you how to do that. Now, there are three options. It doesn't matter which wicks we're using, but there are three options as to lighting. So one option is where you're using an oil Shamash and an oil candle, okay? In this option, we are going to do it like this, okay? By the way, the Shamash, you don't need so much oil in there, okay? If you fill up the oil just a little bit, okay, you can fill up the oil halfway or even like a third of a way. It doesn't need to be full for the Shamash. So if you want to save oil, if you like the light, so fill it all the way. But if you want to save money, save oil, so just fill it halfway or a little less than halfway. Okay? As much as you want. The Shamash, you can do as much as you want. Also, these you can do as much as you want. The minimum is that the flames will burn for half an hour. So you don't have to fill them to the top. It's just beautiful to fill them to the top. Okay? So, again, you don't have to fill these cups full, especially for the Shamash. You just need to make sure that everything will burn for 30 minutes. Okay, but I filled them full for this demonstration. So, now, if this is the first option, that you have oil Shamash and oil candles, okay, oil lights. In this situation, what you want to do is light the match first. The long matches are great for this. If you have one of those, I forgot to get one before the video. If you got a box of those really long matches, that's awesome. Because the order, oh, by the way, if you're a man, put a kippah. I brought a special kippah from the Western Wall. These are for free. You can pick them up at the Western Wall. You can see that. Cute. And I have something written on the back about who made them. But put a kippah if you're a man and you're doing this, okay? The kippah, by the way, it puts something between us and Hashem, between us and God, when we say a blessing. And that's because men, we don't have as pure souls as women. Women have very pure souls, most of them. Okay, women have very pure souls and they don't need to wear a kippah. But men, our souls are not so pure. We actually need to purify them every day. So we put something between us and God before we bless. So what you want to do is, now that you have your kippah on, so you're going to light the match first. Number one, light the match. Number two, while the match is lit, say the blessings. On the first night, we have 3 blessings. That's why you see why it's good to have one of these matches with the really long, because you're not going to make it through the whole blessing. So the best thing is that you have a really long match that will burn through the whole blessing. That's the best, okay? We don't have one of those right now, so we're going to just hold the match before we strike it and say the blessing. Okay, so now we're going to say the blessings. And here are the blessings. The first night there are 3 blessings. Okay. And the second night and the other nights, there's only the first 2 blessings that we say. First night we say all 3. Every other night we only say the first 2. Okay, so like I said, if you have one of those long matches, light those and then say the blessing. Instead, we're going to just hold the match and say the blessing because I don't have one of the long matches with me now. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner Chanukah. Some people say shel Chanukah. Just like when you light the Shabbat candles, everything's the same, except instead of Shabbat, you say Chanukah. Okay? One more time. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Chanukah. The shell is optional. Second blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam she'asa nisim le'avotenu bayamim hahem bazman hazeh. Okay, one more time. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam she'asa nisim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam she'asa nisim le'avotenu bayamim hahem bazman hazeh. Now, on the first night, we say the Shehechianu blessing, which we always say the first time we do something, like the first time we eat a particular fruit for that year, and the first time we sit in the Sukkah during Sukkot, etc. Okay, so we say the Shehechianu blessing. It goes like this. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam shehechianu. Again, shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh. Now, on the first night, we say the Shehechianu blessing, which we always say the first time we do something, like the first time we eat a particular fruit for that year, and the first time we sit in the Sukkah during Sukkot, etc. Okay, so we say the Shehechianu blessing. Goes like this. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam shehechianu. Again, shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Ha'olam, Shehechianu, V'kiyamanu, V'higiyanu, Lazman Hazeh. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Ha'olam, Asher Kiddishanu B'mitzvotav B'tzivanu Lehadlik Ner Chanukah. Second blessing. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Ha'olam She'asa Nisim La'avotenu Bayamim Hahem Bazman Hazeh. Then, after we said all three blessings on the first night, or the first two blessings on every other night, now, hopefully your match is still lit, but if you're like me, then you're going to light the match. And we first light the Chanukah candle. And then we light the Shamash. We always light the Shamash last. Okay? Now, if it's the second night of Chanukah, okay, on the second night, we're going to light, like tomorrow night, we will light this one first, because it's the newest night. We always light the newest night first. Okay? So tomorrow night we're going to light this one. We're going to light this one first and this one second. On the third night, we're going to light this one, then this one, then this one. Why? Because the miracle was greater every night, right? They only had enough oil for one night, but it lasted for 8 nights. So on the first night, there wasn't really a miracle because they expected it would last for one night. On the second night, wow, that's pretty cool. It didn't just last one night, it lasted 2 nights. On the third night, what? Didn't last one night or 2 nights, it lasted 3 nights? So every fourth night, you understand? Until the 8th night, it was a great big miracle. So we honor the newest night by lighting it first. So don't forget, tomorrow night you will light this one first. I know that there's an idea that we read from left to right, from right to left in Hebrew, so we light them this way. That's actually not correct. We always honor the newest night first. So tomorrow night, this one will be first, then this one, and last the Shamash. The Shamash is not a candle. The Shamash serves a few purposes, and one of them is that the Hanukkah lights cannot be used for anything except Hanukkah lights. You cannot use them to read by. You cannot use them to light the room with. Okay? This isn't extremely relevant today when we have electricity, but for thousands of years, this was an issue. And it's forbidden to use them for anything else but Chanukah light. Whatever spiritual energy is in this flame, it's only to be used for Chanukah light. Okay? To light up the world. Light up the world, shine on me. Love is the answer. Wow, that could be a good Hanukkah song. It's perfect theme for Hanukkah. Okay, so we started using a Shamash because the Shamash is another light, and yes, this one can be used for reading. This light can be used. So what we're trying to do is show that we are not using Hanukkah lights for anything except Hanukkah lights by having a Shamash. Okay. And with candles, the Shamash is also used to light the other lights. Okay? Now, if you have a candle if you have a candle, this is the best way. So then what you would do, let's do this again. You see how easy that goes out? Okay? So if you have a candle, then that's the best. So then you don't need this shamash. Okay? You don't need to use it at all. You don't need to use oil. It's actually considered to be the best. Using oil is fantastic. Using oil is better than using candles, for sure. Because oil is what they use in the temple, so we want to use oil. But if you use oil candles or oil lights and a wax shamash, a candle, mitzvah, excellent. That's the best. This is second best, using an oil shamash. But if you have any Hanukkah candles or other candles, you should use that one. And in that case, let's take this away. We're just going to put it there. Pretend it's not there. Okay, this is not, I'm just putting it somewhere. But if you put a candle here as the shamash, that's awesome. And in that situation, you will use the shamash to light the candles. Understand? So let's say this is my shamash. This is my wax candle. This is the order you will do it in. Okay? Take the wax candle, light it, and then light it. And while it's lit, say the blessings. Baruch atah da 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 da. Baruch atah da 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 da. Baruch atah da 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 da. With your shamash, now you use that to light the Chanukah lights. So now, and you've lit your candle. Now you're going to take that wax candle shamash and just stick it in there, okay, and let it burn. And that's the best way to use a shamash, okay. And the third possibility is, if you have any other candle, like one of these tea candles, you can use that as the shamash. Okay? So in that situation, this is also very good, by the way, to use a wax shamash. In that situation, we're going to take this little thing out. Okay? And this is option number 3. You will have lit the long match that you have, okay, or a lighter. Now you will say the blessings, Baruch atah, Baruch atah, Baruch atah, and with your lit match, okay, with your match that was lit before you said the blessings, not like I just did, but I just don't have a long match right now, then you will go and light the candles. Remember, the newest night first. And lastly, you will put your shamash there, or wherever you want to put it, and light it, and that's it. Okay? So those are 3 options. You can use an oil shamash like we did the first time here. You can use a long wax candle shamash. That's terrific. Or this wax candle shamash, and that's the second. The best is if you have one of those long wax Hanukkah candles, you use it to light the other candles and you let it burn. The second best is this situation that you see here, where you light them all with a match or a lighter, and then you light something for a shamash, and you can put it there. And the third best option is using an oil shamash like we had the first time. Okay, so that's the summary of lighting an oil menorah. Have a good time. Again, I don't want to light them all right now, but we can light before they start looking. No. Okay. So if we light a second one, you can start to see how they really start looking very beautiful. Okay, and when you get more, it's even more. The oil lights up. It's really, really nice. So enjoy, and happy Chanukah. And now at this point, of course, you can sing some Hanukkah songs, and dreidel, 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 spin the dreidels, and give gel to the kids, and give gifts to each other, and have a joyous time. I almost forgot. Very important. The Chanukah lights, you should stare at them. You should look at them. Especially women. It's especially important that women look at them for about 30 minutes. Women have a stronger connection with candles and lights than men do because of the nature of their pure souls. And it's very, 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 very good for a woman to look at the lights. And look at them. I can stare at these lights all night. They're really, really beautiful. The Chanukah lights, there's something magic in the flame. Maybe energy from souls, maybe energy from heaven. They're really, really beautiful flames. So women should stare at these for, not stare, but be in the area that they can watch them. That's probably a better word. Women should watch the candles for at least 30 minutes, it said. And men also. It's terrific for your soul. It's terrific for your neshama, your soul. And dance around, have a good time, celebrate, eat jelly donuts, ugvanyot, eat latkes, eat everything made with oil, because we're celebrating the miracle of oil lasting. So get out all your oil, make a lot of oily things, eat a lot of oil, and have a great time. Hanukkah is all about having a festive time and celebrating the 5-year war that the Jews, led by the Maccabees, engaged against the Seleucid Empire, against the Syrian and Greek Empire, and won. We won. No other rebellious group in the history of the empire won against the empire. But we did. We won such that the temple was ours. We won such that next Jerusalem was ours. We won most of our country back, most of our original country back. The war continued for 6 more months until Shavuot. Shavuot is in the spring, late spring. And we had victory after victory until we had most of the original Israel back in our control. Can you imagine that? A small group of rebels turning into a Jewish army over the years, defeating a huge empire that spanned the Mediterranean and all the way into Europe and the Balkans and the Middle East up into Syria. Baruch Hashem. Happy Chanukah, everyone. Chanukah Sameach. Have a great time.